Hey Jenny, you asked such a good question here. I get it from some of my students, so I figured I'd make a training video out of this. You're asking about why do we say at home versus in the house, and a lot of that's colloquial. When we choose words, words are chosen based on how groups of people begin to utilize vocabulary. Corpus linguistics, which is a subfield of linguistics, has really been doing a lot with this in recent years. Let's consider, for example, this. At home we turn on the lights. Why don't we illuminate them or incendiate them? We have the word incendiary in English, and we have the word illuminate in English. If you look at French, which really affected English around the year 1000, they used the word allumer, which is basically illuminate, and then Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian all use encender, which is incendiate. But we use neither of them in English. We use a more Germanic phrasal verb, turn on. Why? Well, that's just what we choose to use. There's lots of words in English, but we choose to use some words. When my students ask me questions like this, I often take them to the Corpus of Contemporary American English. This is a free website that allows you to study words. For example, it's basically a compilation of millions and millions of words that they've gotten from movies and TVs and magazines and academic journals and the like. And, for example, if you type in the word home and you search for it, what will happen is you'll realize that the word home is found 248,000 times in this 410 million word corpus. Now, if you want to see what words go with home, that's what's called a colloquy. And so you can click and say, look for the words that are next to the word home. And of course, logically, if I say home, you might think of go home or, well, let's look. Let's see what it says. The most common words around the word home are, there you go, 9,000 times the word right next to home is go home, followed by come home, followed by came home, followed by nursing home. These are the most common words that go with home. Now, if you want to get a little more specific, you can actually search and say, well, what prepositions are next to the word home? And of course, I know this code because I used Corpora with my students, but watch what happens. 31,000 times the word at is next to the word home. Now, native English speakers just know what words go with what other words. As a matter of fact, corpus linguistics is changing the way we teach grammar and vocabulary. What we used to teach is vocabulary or prepositions we realize now are not really prepositions. Consider the word depend. For example, if we look at the word depend and we look at the word right next to it, just by saying the word depend, chances are you know what word comes right next to it. My wife depends, and what's going to happen is the word's probably going to be on, and there it is. Of the 8,000 times that we use the word depend in English that was found in this corpus, more than 7,500 of them were the word upon. But if you look here where it says heavily, what you'll notice is even when we have words that's depend, it's heavily, but look what goes here, on. And so what happens is English we're now realizing is not just vocabulary, it's vocabulary chunks. And you have to learn the vocabulary chunks. And so you don't just learn your original question, home. You have to understand that at home is a lexical item, it's a lexical chunk. And in the house is a lexical item. It's one piece of vocabulary. It's different than learning each individual word. And I can go more into depth, but I don't want to bore you. But there are a lot of tools out there that can be used to teach students and for students to learn other languages nowadays. For example, this corpus of language is also in Spanish and Portuguese and other languages and allows people to learn in different ways. All right, I hope that gives you some insight. Talk to you soon.